What's up, YouTube? Back with another video. I want to make this topic about living life simple, living in simplicity, right? And the beauty of it. To live life simple, I truly believe that you must understand, what living in chaos is. And I can only appreciate the simplest things of life because I understand the other side of it. You know, um, which makes me think sometimes, we complain a lot about, how things are today, or, you know, uh, how people want to live a certain, natural based way. But you can't really fully appreciate it unless you understand what it takes to venture away from it. And you come to find out that it's kind of like you coming home, or the story of the prodigal son. you know and you come back to understand that everything was always okay. There's like this verse inside of the Bible, I believe. I forget what it is, but it's kind of like, I think it was Jesus, I forgot who it was, but it's kind of like a quote of saying you should always drink the good wine first, right? And the good wine is what basically leads us back home to show us this is of good source, this is of good nature, this is where you belong. So a lot of times I appreciate, what things were, to understand how things should be. Like right now I'm just like staring at a tree, and the tree is, very, very beautiful. And I'm thinking about all the things a tree can do. Whether it provides us air, it provides us nourishment. Trees have a whole network of its own underground. Um, and you can learn a lot from trees if you're trying to learn how to connect with others and build with others, right? Because there's a whole connection underneath the ground, which trees actually nourish each other, and it's a crazy network that they do. As it provides us with food also. Trees are very, very strong, very strong. Have you ever just like hung on a tree? And sometimes I hang on a tree, or sometimes I try to push it to just feel how strong it is. And trees are very, very strong. And trees provide homes for animals, insects. They're even being used when they're dead. You know what I mean? Because a lot of insects, they use like logs as homes, when the tree is not being connected into divine source. So it's beautiful to just see things when they are just being. And a lot of times we tend to manipulate a lot of things, out of our for our own advantage, for our own survival. And manipulation can be in so many different ways. People look at manipulation as a bad way, but there's people who manipulate without even knowing. You know, Manipulation can be just you, like, say for instance, somebody asks you to do something, but because you don't want to be seen as, a bad person or something like that, you you try to you create an atmosphere to try to be, happy or pleasing to the person. So they won't get mad at you. That's still you're still manipulating something, because you're not trying to, deal with something. But when you can allow things to just be, that means allowing results to just be whatever result it is. Allowing people to be who they are. Allowing food to be what it is. You know what I mean? Even with food, a lot of times we season so much of the food. We do so many things to it. I love cooking, but if you're into cooking, you see that people have so many different techniques and ways how to cook a certain meal, when meals are really just very simple. You know what I mean? All you need is some foods, you don't even need fire. You don't even need fire for food, to create food. I'm not going to tell you guys, you can figure it out yourself, find out yourself. But certain things can just be eaten raw, and just let it be. Your stomach is a blender of its own, breaking down nutrients. We were made to be perfect, bro. We were made to be perfect. Right? Like in the Bible, I think it says that God made us in the image of Him. Perfection. We are perfected already. When you really see what we can do, and if you just allow you to be you, let everything to be just what it is. Let the temperatures be hot. Let the winters be cold. Let people be upset. Let people be mad. Let yourself be angry. There's beauty inside of it as well. There's beauty inside of it when you step into the place of just being. What you're doing is that now you're stepping into the observer, and you get to just watch, and you'll see that everything is already perfected. Everything is perfected. Everything is meant to be created, then broken down, and then recycled. Even with us as humans, with our pee, with our poop, we can use poop as soil. Our pee can be nourishment for fertilization, for grass. So everything is beautiful. Everything is being used in some sort of way, man. And everything you need is already right there in front of you, even if you don't think it. Everything you need is already within your within your realm. It's just an illusion of how they make things to be today, to make it seem like you're in lack, but there's nothing lacking within you. There's nothing. You are already beautifully made. You have a mind that can think. You have a mind that has access to memory. You have a body that can move, that can create things, that can break things. You have a mouth that can communicate to others of what you need, what you don't need. You have a mouth for nourishment. You have a nose that can breathe the air. You have everything.